Hey everybody, I was actually doing okay this morning until I started perusing Facebook and I came across the post of the dogs being tortured for the dog eating festival in China. And it was pretty abysmal what I saw, and it was very troubling, mainly because if you haven't seen it, they were showing pictures of dogs that were being literally burned alive. And I guess the whole logic is the meat tastes better when you kill the dogs when they're alive. And I don't know, torture of any kind just messes me up when I see it. And I wanted to, have an opinion about, this cultural practice. But then I started to think, how much different is it than what we do here in America with the meat that we eat? Because there are plenty of people who believe that, the cows and the turkeys and the pigs, they're all sentient beings as well. And there's been plenty of documentaries that show that we really don't treat animals that are meant for consumption very well. I was even thinking in particular about that video that came out several years ago with Sarah Palin, and she was doing some sort of commercial or something like that, and she's at they were killing turkeys for Thanksgiving, and they're just shoving these live turkeys through this feed and killing them. But that was really secondary to the fact that Sarah Palin was in front of this particular practice, and she was just talking. And I've been dealing with the issue of eating meat for a long time, and I will say, obviously this is a dichotomy, because even after I make this video, I will probably go eat meat. So it got me thinking just about humans in particular and the relationship that we have with our food and with, animals in particular. And I know I'm not the first person to have this, because for those people who don't eat meat for ethical reasons, I totally get it. So I guess I struggle with what I believe is this ethical belief that, all sentient beings are due a certain level of respect and right to live, with this idea that I will say all of this stuff and I will still go and eat meat. So I realize this isn't an issue of Chinese cultural practices or American cultural practices. This is just in particular how we humans are, and where we're supposed to go and grow collectively as a species with regard to our relationship with animals. And I'm just wondering, do other people who eat meat struggle with this, or do most people who eat meat just eat meat and not think about it? But I find myself not being able to eat meat sometimes without thinking about this. I'll be like browning meat in a skillet, and I'll think this used to actually be a living creature that possibly gave birth to a child that was just living its life. But for us as humans to know that that animal's sole purpose was to become our food, these are the things that I think about. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to come to any resolution quickly. I do know I would like to reach a point where I don't eat animals, and I know part of it is convenience. When it comes to any particular part of my life that I know I need to change and haven't made change, it's usually because I just haven't figured out an alternative yet, and I haven't figured out how to get the same feeling of, I guess, nutritional satisfaction without having meat in my life. I've gone periods of time where I don't eat it, and then I go right back, to it, maybe because it's just simple. It's easy to put together a turkey sandwich or, something like that. But, to see what was going on with these dogs and how they were being literally tortured alive, and to know that that's probably the fate of most animals that we eat. I know that there are, places that humanely kill animals before we eat them. But the bigger issue is, why the hell do we do it? And I think a lot about one of the most prolific books that I've ever read in my life. Oh, it's actually a series of books by Octavia Butler. And in each book, basically, human beings have there are very few human beings left. We destroyed the planet, and there was a species of aliens called the Oankali. I think that's how you pronounce their name. But they were able to capture some humans that were left, and they actually kind of created, they kind of repopulated Earth, and they were like little villages of people, or settlement populations that they created, and they pretty much let human beings do what they needed to do. They took away our ability to procreate, because they basically said human beings are kind of a crazy species in that we're intelligent, but we also have hierarchical tendencies, which obviously kind of lends to this idea that we feel like animals are there for our purpose and for us to be eaten. But they were talking of the aliens when they would come down sometimes and visit humans, they would never sit with the humans and visit with the humans when they were eating meat, because this alien species just could not physically handle that. And they said that was one of the things they could never really understand about humans is, well, why do the humans eat meat? Because they don't have to. So why do we eat meat if we don't have to eat meat? How did this practice get introduced? And so these are questions that have probably been answered, and I just need to research myself. But it's just clear that at some point I'm going to have to make some sort of stand and actually live what I believe. But if me not eating meat means that there's going to be less of those dogs that are killed or less animals that are treated inhumanely, then I really need to get more serious about it. And then there's a whole nother issue of, it's interesting that we use the word inhumane when something is not treated properly. So maybe we won't stop eating meat until humans start being more humane with each other. So is it our own lack of self-love and humane treatment that allows us to continue to treat other species inhumanely? And so when I think about myself, is it my own inability to treat myself humanely that allows me to continue to conduct practices or be engaged in practices where other beings are treated inhumanely? So I don't know, just something to think about.